pointing out, is that just attention-seeking, or is there something else at James?
From trashing a legendary film to making every post political, these are the 10 reasons why Rachel Zegler is the most hated Hollywood actress. But before we reveal all of the things that turned her from the next big sensation to the Hollywood kryptonite, subscribe to the channel because we're about to expose many more. Trashing the original Snow White film was never the best idea.
What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White.
Rachel Zegler's way of promoting a new version of Snow White was quite controversial. She was actively criticizing the 1937 original film that millions of people grew up watching and loving. During one of the promotional interviews, she called the classic film outdated and referred to the prince as a stalker. In other words, even before the movie ever launched, she made it clear that the new version would be completely eliminated and that there would be less romance, which was central to the original story. Now, picture this. You are a fan of the original franchise, and now you are excited about this Snow White live-action remake. However, the co-star who was supposed to carry the movie herself says bad things about the original show. Of course, you won't go to watch that movie. Here's the problem. When you hire a star in a remake, you are being paid to honor the legacy of something that is beloved universally, not to publicly tear it apart. Fans didn't see her comments as a fresh perspective, and they saw her tone as disrespectful. The backlash was immediate. Clips of her criticizing the original went viral across social media, and people started asking why Disney would cast someone who clearly had so much hatred. Then came the $300 million disaster that changed her picture from being the biggest Hollywood star to Hollywood trash.
Forbes has reported that Disney netted $170 million on its 2025 live-action Snow White remake starring...
The main reason why most studios hate her isn't that Rachel Zegler had controversial remarks, but it's the effect of those remarks about the film Snow White. It didn't just underperform, it became one of Disney's most fantastic failures in recent history. The total budget climbed over $300 million, and that's mid-budget territory for a blockbuster franchise launching a franchise. For context, this film cost more than Rogue One and the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Disney was expecting Beauty and the Beast level returns, which crossed $1 billion globally. Instead, they got a complete mess. The opening weekend brought in only $42 million domestically, which was already below expectations. But even with the studio's lower expectations internationally, the film didn't provide any rescue either. The worldwide total eventually landed at around $250 million before leaving theaters in about 4.5 weeks. From that $250 million, Disney's actual return was closer to $125 million, even with all the taxes and incentives. Industry estimates placed the final loss at around $170 million, which is huge. This is not just a flop. That was basically a red signal for Hollywood to never work with Rachel Zegler again. Now, we love it when our favorite actress talks, but Zegler just couldn't stop talking.
We didn't do that this time.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story.
After the initial backlash started, the smart move should have been for her to step back and let everything cool down, not escalate anything. But Rachel did the opposite. Even if the world was telling her to stop, even if her own management was begging her not to say anything, she doubled down repeatedly. In the follow-up interviews, she suggested that much of the criticism stemmed from unfair standards imposed on her. She was featured in Glamour magazine as one of the Women of the Year, where she argued that actors shouldn't need boundaries when it comes to political expression. She even brushed off her backlash, saying that criticism rose right off her. This confidence is quite empowering in isolation, but in the context of a film that falls $300 million short on revenue, it is basically tone-deaf. Studios were reportedly in crisis, and you are publicly destroying that project. That says a lot about you. Even after the backlash was getting too much, Rachel Zegler didn't step back. Rather, she went through a phase of social media meltdowns. During the promotional period of the Snow White movie, her social media presence was actively hurting the film. When the first trailer dropped, instead of focusing on the visuals and music, She used the moment to share strong political opinions directly under the promotional posts. At that time, the whole Israel versus Palestine war was ongoing, and even if it wasn't related to the movie, she kept making it a thing on her social media posts. Reports claim that Disney executives even had to step in, requesting post removals and even bringing in social media training to prevent any further PR disasters. Just think about it for a moment. A major studio had to hire professionals just to teach you how not to sabotage your own movie on Twitter. That's basically crisis management. In an age of social media, stars have more direct access to the audience than ever before. Rachel didn't understand or care about what would happen to the movie either way, and it cost the whole studio a lot. A lot of studios also have issues with Rachel Zegler, because in the end, Disney abandoned her.
Oh, man.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
And this is where it gets even colder. If you walk into Disney parks right now, you meet both versions of The Little Mermaid. You can take pictures, buy merchandise, and get the full experience. Ariel is everywhere, fully embraced by the company. When it comes to the live-action Snow White, it is practically invisible. There is no major character rollout, celebration, or meet-and-greet opportunities. Disney quietly took a back seat with that version faster than anything we've ever seen. Reports from humans claimed that there is unsold merchandise that ended up at discount chains like Dollar Tree and Five Below. That is brutal for what was supposed to be a billion-dollar movie. When your own studio pretends that your movie doesn't even exist just months after its release, it sends a clear message about how badly things actually went. Now, let's talk about the problematic side of things. But before we reveal the reasons why Zegler is one of the most hated actresses now, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon for more videos like these. Then came the narcissism accusations, and we all know that no one loves a narcissistic celebrity.
And an ego the size of Kansas is really a sight to behold. I mean, in a parallel universe where we actually cared what a 23-year-old girl thought about anything to do with Trump or...
But I'm not just name-calling her. Rachel literally called herself a narcissist and then laughed about it. While she may have meant it as self-deprecating humor, it was terrible in the context of everything that was happening around her. When you're already facing criticism for being so self-absorbed and out of touch, joking about narcissism isn't funny. It's confirming that you might be one. It also made a lot of people hate her even more because she was interested in making the movie about herself and about her opinion rather than honoring the story or serving the audience. Hollywood is full of confident actors, but then there's Rachel Zegler, who is equally as arrogant as she is confident. Audiences can even sense when someone is thinking that they are above criticism and too important to listen to the feedback of regular people, and the same happened with Rachel Zegler. Zegler was the reason her whole career went to the dustbin. You see, just a couple of years ago, Rachel Zegler didn't look this big of a flaw. Rather, she was unstoppable. She was personally selected by none other than Steven Spielberg for the West Side Story, which immediately positioned her as one of Hollywood's most promising new faces. From there, she landed roles like The Hunger Games and ultimately secured the lead in Snow White. She had that momentum, and she also had industry backing and a lot of support. In other words, this girl was locked in. The trajectory was clear. She had major franchises, blockbuster leads coming, and her A-list status was just a couple of movies away. Fast forward to 2026, and that trajectory has completely changed. Instead of leading a billion-dollar franchise, she is getting a smaller indie role called She Gets It From Me. This film has no distributor, and it may not even end up on a streaming platform we know of. She is also doing theater work in London and London's West End, which is artistically respectable but not the same level as Disney's biggest movies. In other words, she destroyed her whole career, and now, not a lot of fans support her anymore. More people are actually pissed about her being the spokesperson for the remake than we actually thought. By 2025, audiences were already exhausted by the live-action remakes. Some of them burst, like The Lion King. It made money despite all the mixed reviews. Others flopped, like the Pinocchio movie. Rachel became the face of fatigue at the worst possible time. If the promotional tour had focused purely on magic, visuals, and music, maybe it would have been a different story. Instead, she became a spokesperson for everything that people get tired of. She was lecturing about why old movies are problematic and about political messages inserted into fairy tales. In other words, she was more fixated on fixing the beloved stories than honoring them. Rachel Zegler wasn't just promoting a movie. She became the symbol of an approach to storytelling that significantly parted audiences from the original franchise. That is a heavy burden for any actor, but honestly, she did it to herself. Even the industry insiders don't like her. Behind the scenes, things are quite interesting because reports give us the idea that Disney executives were frustrated with how the rollout went. Early screen testing allegedly left them nervous with elements that were changed, reworked, and partially restored through expensive reshoots. Every adjustment was more money, more pressure, and more headlines. When a project you were headlining costs a studio $170 million in losses, casting, conversation, change, momentum goes, and meetings that are different, investors don't forget about those numbers like that. Hollywood is a small town where everyone knows everyone, and the industry insider now doesn't even want to work with Rachel Zegler because of all the things that she has made them go through. After all of this, Rachel Zegler became nothing more than a meme. One-line reaction for Rachel's statements was relentless. There were Reddit threads that dissected every single interview clip, comment sections that were filled side by side with screenshots of her early, confident press quotes next to box office disaster headlines. She became, in the end, a viral meme, and her name became a punchline in discussions about Hollywood fallen actresses and actors, along with failed reboots. This kind of infamy is quite hard to shake. Even people who never saw Snow White now know her because of the controversy, so it's hard for her to recover from all that. The internet has a long memory, and once you become associated with something so messed up, you're definitely not recovering from it for a long time. This is because, even though it has been years since the launch of the Snow White film, she still hasn't recovered her career one bit. Rather, now she is working on a film that has no distributors. Major distributors are rejecting her again and again, while she is not getting her movie, which is under works, played on most of the major platforms because it's a gamble. The ideal case for her is that Netflix picks the movie up and that she gets some exposure. But even after getting this exposure, it's an indie film with a low budget and no way of reclaiming her throne that she could have already had after the Snow White film if it wasn't that big of a disaster. Do you think Rachel Zegler had a deserved downfall? Let us know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and ring the bell icon for more.